Yes, part two of getting into the highest levels of consciousness and their terrifying consequences. I know y'all esoterically tapped in individuals out there, you know, the ones that want to get into the higher forms of their realities, and you know what I'm saying? I don't know, maybe they expect to get the highest levels of wisdom, being wise, highest levels of being smart, I don't know, highest levels that can build your ego up, you know what I'm saying? Who knows what kind of self-preservation tip you're on, you know what I'm saying? But I think it's safe to say, you know, you're on the right video, because it might just wake you up if you was unaware of these terrifying consequences of these higher levels of dimension or consciousness or whatever, right? Let's get into it, man. Part two. When she said she wanna die, and he see she ain't bluffing, so he held her to the skies, cried sour momentum, passive with goodbyes. I'd rather you tell him, but now the truth is I've digressed from all the feelings, so it's forever though. Like my mama's son is missing, ain't no telling. Do they? Yeah. Fat lady sings, I see the writing on the walls. I mean, back to the sin, cause it was pride before the fall, and now the demon's grin, there's no temptation too tall, so it's oh, yo, the mute, that whole muted demon. Now, yeah, as I said, part two, ladies and gentlemen, this is the highest levels of dimension and its terrifying consequences. Now, as I was about to, you know, break down, yo, y'all self-help geeks out there, I'm saying this is for you, because y'all know the point of y'all journey. Well, some of y'all, I don't know who's making it about the achievement of what you can achieve by this whole self-help thing, right? We all know that the highest goal that y'all have is, you know, to reach the highest levels of dimensions, or, you know, higher levels of awareness, higher self, right? And so, yo, there's terrifying consequences. Well, you know what I mean? I know this is a revelation to people, thinking that, yeah, nah, reaching your highest self means you're all good, all rosy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's no room for improvement. I don't know, some shit. I guess this is a wake-up call type of video, and you know, I'm excited for you. You about to grow smarter together. You know what I'm saying? Oh shit! Wrong scene. Alright, cool. Hop in.
There is no answer yet.
Why?
Only the implication that dimensionality is not neutral. Some dimensions support coherence.
Yep.
Others erode it. Beyond this point, containment itself begins to fail.
True.
In 9 dimensions, a sphere placed inside a hypercube grows so large relative to the cube's corners that it begins touching edges that should be distant by our logic. By the 10th dimension, the sphere protrudes outside the cube.
10th dimension, bro. Yo, how many dimensions is human collectives aware of, like?
Cube entirely. This is not a mistake.
What is it?
The math is correct. A boundary no longer bounds. And yet, 10 dimensions are required for superstring theory to make sense at all. Without them, reality contradicts itself. At this level, physics does not break violently. It stops defending the idea that inside and outside are meaningful categories. And once that protection is gone, nothing we consider solid remains safe.
Oh.
Up to this point, higher dimensions have behaved like unfair advantages.
Wait, are we at the level yet where everything is one and everything is inseparable and everything? Because now when we're talking about the vanishing of the boundary that gives us the difference between inside and outside, it's like outside is inside and inside is outside, and it's like, oh my god, what the fuck's going on? Like, is that the level at which we have reached that sort of awareness? Is it the 10th? What are you talking about, bro?
They bypass walls, undo knots, merge forces. Even when geometry becomes strange, it still feels rule-bound, as if reality is playing a more complicated game, but remaining coherent.
Right.
That illusion does not survive the next threshold. Beyond 10 dimensions,
Yeah, what happens?
space stops behaving like a place where things can be meaningfully arranged.
What happens?
Optimization fails. Intuition dies completely.
Huh? Intuition dies? What kind of dimension are we talking about when we talk about the death of intuition, bro?
What remains is not chaos in the dramatic sense, but something colder. Indifference.
Indifference.
One of the first signs of this appears in a phenomenon mathematicians call the sausage catastrophe.
What's that?
In lower dimensions, if you try to pack spheres efficiently, you cluster them. You stack oranges. You form lattices. Complexity improves efficiency. And this logic holds all the way up through familiar space and even into the moderately high dimensions. Then, at 42 dimensions, it breaks.
How did we skip all those other dimensions? I thought we were gonna, like, you know, get into the dimensions specifically. But now you talking about 42, nigga. I thought we was gonna just, like, you know, end off at one of these lower dimensions, like 6, 7. No, like 6, 7, like 9. Like, I've popularly heard about like 9 dimensions. But then again, the idea of different individuals breaking down these different dimensions, it's like it's different ideas I'm hearing, right? It's not one string of thought. It's like a whole lot of, you know, ideas about one dimension, for example. And I feel like that's the one thing, that's the one significant confusing thing about getting information from the internet. Facts. And, you know, this might be the value of reading like some viable material that's out there, that's, like, you know, approved by, I don't know, professionals or whatever the case, right? Academics, so that it becomes the one. Fuck. But we don't exist in a world that generalizes one idea or centralizes one idea anymore. Like, yeah, I get the fact that, you know, we've decentralized the whole you know, like, sources of things. We've decentralized all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore independent thinking is at the forefront now. But the independent thoughts of a whole lot of different people, they make, you know, if you're trying to paint one picture about some sort of vision that you're trying to get at, it gets confusing. You're not going to get one picture, right? So therefore, that's why I was dismissive of the whole multiple dimensions theory and, you know, just getting to the bottom of it, because these ideas, they're varying, right? It's a whole various amount of ideas. And so, damn, I thought Aperture right here was gonna, you know, break down concise ideas concisely, you feel me, up until maybe the 8th, 9th dimension. 42, god damn. Alright, man, like, shit, wrap it up, bro. Like, at this point, I feel like you're wrapping it up, cause, like, these dimensions is infinite. And this is a point that I pointed out earlier in the segment, right? That, yo, I mean, there's always one more dimension. There's always one more way that's advanced from the previous way that the mind can be aware of its environment, its reality, etc., right?
Permanently. From dimension 42 onwards, it is mathematically proven that the most efficient way to pack spheres is not to cluster them at all. It's to line them up in a single, endless chain. No matter how many spheres you add, no amount of clever arrangements beats a straight line. All higher dimensional cleverness collapses into monotony. This is not just unintuitive, it's...
What is it?
Intellectually humiliating.
Oh shit.
Every instinct about structure fails. Space no longer rewards complexity, it actively punishes it.
What?
And this matters because it reveals something unsettling about high-dimensional reality.
Tell me about it.
There are regimes where structure is not favored at all. Order does not emerge. It's suppressed. Before reaching that collapse, however, there is one last moment of almost supernatural elegance.
What is that?
Dimension 24. Like Dimension 8, 24 is a mathematical anomaly, a rare island of perfection in an otherwise turbulent dimensional sea. In 24 dimensions, spheres arrange themselves into the Leech lattice. One central sphere can be touched by exactly 196,560 others without overlap. This number is not approximate, it is exact. Even more unsettling is...
Always, man, what are your sources, brother? You know what I'm saying? What are your sources, Aperture? Come on, man. Where do you get this information? Like, why do you... You know what I'm saying?
Where this structure appears. The Leech lattice is not just theoretical. It's used in real-world error-correcting code. When information is transmitted through noisy channels, be it space probes, deep space communication, or digital storage, this 24-dimensional geometry helps recover meaning from corruption. In other words, information survives chaos because of a structure that exists far beyond our reality. And this reframes something fundamental.
Tell me about
Perhaps higher dimensions are not where physics breaks, but where it's repaired. Perhaps the reason information feels conserved in our universe is not because of a law that we understand, but because deeper geometry refuses to let meaning fully dissolve. However, this is the last kindness. Beyond this point, dimensions stop feeling like scaffolding and start feeling like erasure. At sufficiently high dimensions, volume behaves in a way that openly contradicts containment. A hypersphere placed inside of a hypercube grows larger than the cube meant to contain it.
What does that mean?
The inside object becomes larger than its boundary. Containment fails in principle, not in practice. This is not poetry, by the way. It is literal mathematics. Some estimates place this inversion around hundreds of dimensions. The exact number is debated, but the implication is not. At extreme dimensionality, the very idea of a container collapses. Inside and outside lose their distinction. At this depth.
Nah, that's why I was bringing up the point of like, yo, is this where everything merges and becomes one? Because you do know that that's where a whole lot of people derive the idea of God, bro. You know what I'm saying? Where every, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole something being omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, you know, it's not contained by the elements of identification or size, body, you know what I'm saying, mind, like soul. Because everything, you know what I'm saying, nothing is contained, nothing can be contained. Understand what I'm saying? Like, so I guess I'm just like waiting on where that dimension is. Goddamn it.
Geometry no longer respects borders. So how could such dimensions exist without tearing our universe apart? Well, because we're not immersed in them. They're compact, folded, hidden at scales too small to probe directly. Like a garden hose viewed from far away, higher dimensions collapse into invisibility when observed at insufficient resolution. To us, space looks three-dimensional because we cannot see the curve.
So the distance... Wait. Nah, bro. So you telling me the distance affects your... like how you see it, like your perception of it. The same way that a hose being viewed from a very long distance away ends up just disappearing into the distance. But then now, the distance becomes the boundary, right? The boundary that contains my clear view of that dimension, no matter the distance. So if we blur these boundaries, right, since there's no... Come on, man. What am I trying... Like, since there's no containment of... Since there's nothing blocking me or containing my view from seeing you, you know what I'm saying? Since in this dimension there's no containment of anything, why is the distance, you know, affecting my view of it? Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm probably understanding it from the side of my neck, but this feels like a good question. Shit.
Curvature wrapped inside of it. But invisibility does not mean irrelevance. If these dimensions exist, they can vibrate, and vibrations carry energy.
Yep.
In theories that include extra dimensions, these vibrations manifest as heavy, long-lived particles known as moduli. They are not part of everyday matter as we understand it. They are echoes of geometry, fluctuations in how space itself has been folded. For a very brief moment after the Big Bang, these moduli may have dominated the universe. Not matter, not radiation, but geometry. Space was ringing like a struck bell. They decayed quickly, but their decay may have left behind something quieter and harder to detect.
What do they call that?
Axions. Ghostly particles that barely interact with matter. A background hum from dimensions we can't enter, but may still be able to hear. This suggests something deeply unsettling. The early universe may have been governed by dimensions we no longer inhabit. Our current reality may be the cooled, collapsed residue of a higher dimensional phase.
That's it.
Physics, as we know it, may be what survives after geometry settles into a simpler form. Seen this way, our universe is not fundamental. It's stabilized. This reframes what it means for physics to break. It doesn't shatter like glass. It thins. Assumptions lose their grip. Rules fade as soon as the dimensional context changes. From the perspective of higher space, nothing we experience is violated. It is simply local. And locality is fragile. Every time we climb a dimension, what once felt impossible becomes trivial. Walls become lines, knots become illusions, forces merge, boundaries fail.
And that's why, like I always go back to the concept of just like how modern technology has made it easier for, for us to close the distance, with people, like the advent of the online verse, right? Or direct messaging, where you can directly message somebody from across the world. You feel what I'm saying? So that whole reality that distance existed like that. The fact that I'd have to, move worlds, right? To just like communicate with somebody from a distance where you're at, for example. You know what I'm saying? Such a trivial thing to be like, yo, damn, that used to be the reality. And kiki haha, like laugh over it and be like, yeah, nah, we on some better shit.
Optimization collapses. At the highest levels, space does not feel hostile, it feels uninterested.
Oh yeah.
Which leaves one final question.
What is it?
If higher dimensions exist, and if our universe is merely a cross-section of something much larger, then what we call reality may not be a place at all, but a shadow cast by geometry we are not equipped to perceive.
Damn.
And shadows do not...
Now you fucking me up. Ew, shit. Yeah, now you frying me, boy. Talking about reality may be a shadow. Damn.
not control the objects that cast them. By this point, dimensions have stripped space of its reliability. Walls no longer confine, shapes no longer contain. Order appears and disappears without warning. But there's one assumption still standing, quietly holding the whole structure together.
What is it?
That assumption is observation. Now, so far, we've treated dimensions as places, spaces where objects exist and geometry behaves badly. But at the highest levels, dimensions stop acting like environments and start acting like conditions under which reality becomes definite at all. This is where physics stops being just unsettling and starts becoming existential. In classical reality, observation is passive. You look at something, and it reveals what was already there. A coin lands heads or tails before you see it. A planet follows its orbit whether or not anyone is watching. This assumption feels so natural that it's rarely questioned. Quantum mechanics destroys that. At the quantum level, objects do not have definite properties until they are measured. An electron does not choose a position. It exists as a spread of possibilities, a wave of potential. Only when interaction occurs does reality collapse into a single outcome. Reality behaves as if it does not commit to a single state until it's forced to. This introduces a dimension that is not spatial, not temporal, but conditional. A dimension where what exists depends on what is known. The deeper you follow this, the more disturbing it becomes.
Let's go.
Consider the double slit experiment. When particles are fired through slits without observation, they form an interference pattern, proof that each particle behaves like a wave passing through both slits at once.
Yeah.
The moment you measure which slit the particle goes through, the interference disappears. The particle behaves like a solid object. Nothing physical is touching the particle or acting on it differently. Only the information is changing. This suggests that reality is not responding to force, it is responding to knowledge. At this point, the idea of dimensions as places breaks down. The system seems to care less about where things are and more about whether distinctions have been made. This reaches its breaking point in a thought experiment known as Wigner's friend. Imagine a scientist inside a sealed laboratory measuring a quantum particle. From their perspective, the particle collapses into a definite state. The experiment is complete. Reality has resolved. Now let's imagine another observer outside the lab who has not looked inside. From their perspective, the entire lab, the scientist, the notebook, the measuring device, and the particle, exists in a state of quantum superposition. The experiment for that second observer has not been resolved yet. Both perspectives are, surprisingly, mathematically valid. So where does the collapse actually happen? Is reality definite when the scientist observes it, or only when the outside observer opens the door? If both are correct, then reality does not have a single state. It has observer-dependent layers. And I want to clarify here, this is not philosophical speculation. Variations of this very paradox are being tested now, experimentally. At this level, dimension is no longer about geometry. It is about who is allowed to say what is real.
It's real.
The
the one thing that I've been asking myself is, do you think trees put, meaning to whatever? Number one, do you think, obviously, I don't think trees observe things in the same way I observe things, right? They don't got like eyes, and they don't got that like these five senses that I got, but they definitely got some sense, goddammit. Like, you know what I'm saying? The fact that when the weather does change, it affects, the production of these leaves that grow on trees, and like, they get affected. They got a sense of something. And so therefore, is it real? Is it reality how they observe nature from their perspective? If they have a perspective, you know what I'm saying? Or is it just real, when the human scientist says, nah, it's real, because the tree actually, you know what I'm saying, the leaves fall as a result of the changing nature and this is reality. You know what I'm saying? Is it real if the scientist says that shit? Or if the tree says that shit? Okay, he did say it's not philosophical, kind of like observation and analysis and shit like that, but yo, damn, I can't help but ask these questions.
Settling implication is this: reality may not be globally consistent. It may only be locally coherent relative to observers embedded within it.
Cool.
Which means that what you experience as a stable world may be a cross-section, not just of higher space, but of a higher informational structure. And this reframes earlier dimensional violations in a new light.
Seriously?
A four-dimensional being bypasses your walls because the walls were only constraints within your slice of reality. A higher dimensional observer may bypass your facts the same way. From above, contradiction disappears. This raises a very dangerous question. If reality collapses based on observation, then what qualifies as an observer? Is it consciousness? Measurement devices? Interaction itself? Well, physics does not answer this cleanly. Different interpretations exist. Some say that consciousness matters. Others say it doesn't. Some claim all possibilities exist simultaneously, branching into separate universes. This leads to the many worlds interpretation. In many worlds, collapse never happens. Every possible outcome occurs, each in its own branch of reality. The universe splits continuously, fracturing into countless timelines. From this perspective, dimensions are not just directions, they're branches. You experience one path because your consciousness is embedded within it. Other versions of you exist elsewhere, making different choices, meeting.
What, it's just that my consciousness is not embedded in them, in those other ones? Then why am I conscious of that fact?
Different ends, and not metaphorically, literally. This introduces a dimension that cannot be traveled through, only inhabited.
What was that?
A dimension of outcomes. The unsettling part is not that many worlds exist, it's that from your perspective, they're invisible.
They're invisible.
But from a higher vantage point, they may be equally real. Which brings us to the most uncomfortable possibility of all.
What is that?
Consciousness itself may be a low-dimensional phenomenon.
Damn.
It's not special, not central, simply trapped. If awareness arises from physical processes confined to a particular dimensional slice, then higher dimensional structures may not experience reality sequentially at all. They may not experience time as flow. They may not experience individuality as separation.
Yeah.
To such entities, your entire life might be a static object, a pattern, a completed structure. This mirrors the earlier insight about world lines. You are not moving through time. You're stretching across it. Now, imagine a perspective where even that extension is visible all at once. From there, choice doesn't disappear, it simply stops feeling open-ended. This is why higher dimensions feel creepy. Not because they introduce monsters or chaos, but because they remove narrative. Cause and effect lose their emotional.
I feel like they go beyond what the mind, what your physical mind can like conceptualize, right? So once that understanding, that misunderstanding hits, right? It's like, oh shit, I don't want to get here. It's scary here.
Oh wait, effort loses its drama.
Yep.
Becoming gives way to being. At the highest levels, physics does not describe events, it describes structure. And structure, well, it doesn't care how it feels to live inside of it. Which brings us to the final reframing. Perhaps the reason higher dimensions feel so hostile to intuition is not because they're alien, but because they reveal that intuition was never designed to survive truth at scale. Our minds evolved to navigate a narrow slice of reality where surfaces matter, time flows forward, and observation feels harmless. But beyond that slice, the universe does not become supernatural. It becomes honest. After walking through the highest dimensions, one question refuses to go away.
What is that?
If reality is this fragile, if walls are optional, time is a coordinate, forces are geometry, and observation shapes existence, then why does the universe feel so stable? Why does your body feel solid? Why does cause usually follow effect? Why does the world behave well enough for life to exist at all? And the answer isn't that higher dimensions are absent.
I feel like it's memory, because you require memory for you to remember what summer feels like, and so therefore once summer hits again, you're able to derive meaning for how reality is supposed to move when it's summertime versus when it's wintertime. You know what I'm saying? And so even that change of seasons is constantly there, which makes the whole universe feeling stable, but containing changes within it, because the change has to come back to its resting place, right? Its point of equilibrium again before it starts the new cycle. Alright, let me hear your version.
It's that we are embedded too deeply in a narrow slice of them to notice their freedom. Stability is not a feature of the universe.
What is it?
It's a byproduct of confinement. Just as two-dimensional creatures would swear that lines are absolute and interiors don't exist, we swear that surfaces matter, that objects are sealed, that time flows forward, and that observation is harmless. These beliefs aren't wrong necessarily, they are locally correct. They hold only because we are trapped inside the same dimensional bottleneck. Every higher dimension we've explored reveals the same pattern. Rules do not fail
Same pattern. Patterning. I said something about patterning.
everywhere at once. They
Yeah.
fail only when viewed from above. Walls fail from the third dimension. Knots fail from the fourth. Forces merge in the fifth. Containment collapses beyond the 10th. Structure itself dissolves at extreme dimensionality. Yet, inside each layer, reality still feels complete. This is why physics appears stable to us, yet incomplete. It's not lying to us, it's speaking only about the part of reality we are allowed to inhabit. Now, this reframes the idea of physics breaking. Physics does not break when equations fail.
What does it do?
It breaks when we ask them to apply outside their jurisdiction. The moment we demand global truth from local rules, paradoxes appear. This is why higher dimensions feel so disturbing to us. They expose that everything we trust, causality, containment, individuality, is provisional, useful, but not fundamental.
Yep.
Even time, the axis we rely on to make sense of our lives, loses its authority at higher dimensional views. Past and future become positions, not processes. Change becomes geometry. From above, your entire life may exist as
I don't know. I might give a, sort of like an trivial sort of example, right? One that may not be taken too seriously, but I feel like, from the transition of being an adult, right? From being a teenager, being an adult is a higher dimension, so to speak. So to speak, it's an example, man, right? And so therefore, I feel like seeing yourself let's say you're the teenager and you're on some stupid shit, right? You're on some stupid behavior, immature behavior, and for you to see how it's affecting you from a grown lens, from a wiser lens, aka from maybe a more grown you that would want better interests for yourself in your life. Because when you're a teenager, that's the only world you know, so that's the only dimension you exist in. Don't know it from any other perspective. But once you've become an adult, you do have the reference to a teenage perspective of it. So that's why you can probably empathize with teenagers that have went through the adult version of you that are going through that similar thing. You know what I'm saying? But as a teenager, you might look at an adult that's trying to give them advice on, yo, this is what I went through and this is how you can actually make better decisions. That teenager might look at you like, yo, piss off, bro. Like, I'm still, I'm doing my own thing, this is it, you know what I'm saying? So to them, the patterns of being a teenager is fixed within their realities. Like, yo, it doesn't get any, doesn't go beyond this, you know what I'm saying? Because the mind cannot fathom anything, any other perspective of what it looks like to be that teenager, because they've never been anything other than a teenager. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm making any sense, dog, but I feel like it goes there. Come on, bro, stop it. Fuck, nigga, damn. I hate it when this shit happens. Why do you go all the way to the intermission scene? Pussy.
static object, a structure with no privileged now, not unfolding, just there in its entirety. And this does not mean your experiences are meaningless. It means meaning is not created by sequence alone. And this is where the human discomfort peaks. Because if higher dimensions exist, then suffering, choice, effort, and identity are not erased, but they are recontextualized. They stop being the center of reality and become features of a particular slice. And that is the true source of the unease. We aren't disturbed by the idea of extra space.
What are we?
We are disturbed by the idea that we are not narratively central, that our struggles do not drive the universe forward, that our decisions do not shape reality globally.
It's not about us, basically. It's not about self-centered you.
That our sense of becoming may be a local illusion inside a larger...
And that's why I gave the example of the teenager versus the adult. The teenager thinks everything is about them. And the older you grow, the more you realize it's not. Right? You are a cog. You are a little piece in the system that makes up your life. You know what I'm saying? And you're nothing but a contributor. You're not the whole entire thing. But then even that, okay, cool. There's concepts. There's there's a whole bunch of things that could like that, you know, go against that notion. But right, it's like, that's why I gave that example in the first place though.
Already structured whole. And yet, I think at least, there is a strange relief hidden here.
What is it? Where is it?
If higher dimensions reveal that reality is larger than our slice, then the fragility that we feel, it may not be personal. It may be structural. That anxiety that something is off with existence might not be a flaw in human psychology after all. It may be an accurate response to living inside a constrained projection.
Nice.
Our minds evolved to survive, not to see the full shape of reality. We never needed it to live day to day, which explains to us why higher dimensions feel so wrong. They don't threaten us with monsters or chaos. There is no Cthulhu waiting in the sixth dimension. They just threaten us with irrelevance. They suggest that the universe does not revolve around what we can perceive, measure, or narrate. That the deepest structure of existence operates at scales where our intuition just can't follow.
Yeah.
We're here anyway. We move. We choose. We care.
Anyway.
And perhaps that's the final paradox. Even if higher dimensions exist, even if reality is far stranger and colder than we imagine, experiences still happen locally. Meaning still arises inside slices. Consciousness still navigates its narrow corridor as if it were the whole. And maybe that's not a failure. Because a universe fully aware of its highest dimensions might be perfectly structured and completely unlivable. So, reality compromises. It hides its depth. It stabilizes surfaces. It enforces time. It protects identity. Not because these things are fundamental, but because without them, nothing inside that slice could survive. In that sense, physics does not break at higher dimensions. It lets go. And what remains is not chaos, but a quiet reminder that what we experience as reality is not the universe itself, but the version of it that allows us to exist. Which, depending on your point of view, may be the most beautiful or unsettling truth of all.